Hello everybody, I'm Colin Baker, the Sixth Doctor, and you are so lucky, because you are watching the Omega Files, and I'm in it at the moment, but the next bit isn't me, it's something even better.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Omega Files. I'm your host, Dr. Freedom, and tonight we've gathered to have a little talk about the Doctor Who serial that was never finished that just won't die. But for good reason, because it's a very good story. It was written by Douglas Adams, and of course we're referring to Shada. Spoiler alert, the Lost Time Lord prison planet. That's right, weird things go on, but we won't discuss what happens in the shower. Okay. Let's go around, and when I go ahead and say your name, go ahead and go over your opening thoughts on this, recent remake, or, add-on, or whatever you want to call it, of Shada. Its recent incarnation, I think, would be the best term to use. All right, so let's start at the bottom of the night. Let's start with Tim. Go ahead, Texas Tim.
Well, this is it, isn't it? This is the definitive final release of Shada after so many false starts over the years. It's great. It really is good. They've got the animation to fill in the missing bits. They've done a bit of tweaking here and there. The interesting thing about this story is it's not your usual missing Doctor Who story. It's the one that was never completed, which gives it its own like special place in history. And that, I mean, to finally have it now after, so many different variations on it over the years, to have it finally completed is really cool. It's really good. I mean, it really does take you back to that time kind of thing. And wow, I mean, I'm pretty amazed by what they were able to pull off. They really do make it feel like of its time, and that's all I got to say right now. I mean, it's really good.
Alrighty, okay, let's move over to Beefhead.
Yes, Shada, or what to do when balls hit you in the face. Basically, it's like Tim says, it's a unique thing in the history of Doctor Who. It's not one that's been lost or one that's been wiped. It was abandoned through circumstances that were completely beyond its control. And it is great to have something like that now back in its full completion, because Douglas Adams played such a large part in the show, in the history of the show, and everything like that. And this is nothing but pure Douglas Adams, through to the humour that he would always exhibit through the clever use of the language. It's brilliant that they were able to get these people back to reprise their original roles. They were even able to find original bits of costume that they were able to reuse or rejig, especially for bits of set, to do green screen shots and set up shots. And now, which is something that we've all been saying for a while, is using animation to give us and fill in those blanks that we have. And it's been done amazingly effectively. If anything, I certainly think this, as opposed to what we've had before with Power of the Daleks, which was black and white, this has gone into colour. And I think that animation is more close to what you would have on the time. But the big thing that makes it for me is the music and the sound effects used as well, because it is completely transportative. It takes you back to how it was there. You could go straight from watching, the Horns of Nymon into this, and it doesn't miss a beat. So it looks like you're watching it as you would be watching it then, and you don't have that thing. And it is a good story. It's something new, and it adds a sort of bit of lore to it now, with sort of what happens to Time Lords as they get towards their own twilight years. Do they just wander off into the great unknown, or do they just sort of settle down and park somewhere? And I like that. And it's just a great bit. And I don't want to take up all the time, so I'll let the guys run with it as well.
Alrighty. Okay, Graham.
Yeah, well, here we go. Tom Baker era now complete. Welcome to Shada version 5.0. We've had everything from, Ian Levine's version to Paul McGann's interpretation over at Big Finish. And now the cycle is complete with the maestro back at the helm at the age he's at, and we have a full story for the Douglas Adams Never Complete classic. As Beef alluded to, the animation this is crisp, it's smooth. A vast improvement in my opinion what we got with Power of the Darks, even though there's nothing wrong with that. This was just a lot more crisp and smoother in my opinion. Fantastic story, great concepts. Douglas Adams' footprint is written all over this. I especially love the music, the usage of the models and the new models that they use for the reconstruction. One wee downside, no John Leeson. We got the other fella instead, but you can't have everything. This is a top-notch effort, and it's good to finally have the Tom Baker era complete and in its entirety.
Okay, Philip.
There we go. Right, yes. I thoroughly enjoy this. Do you know what? We all say this is an old classic from '79, but for me, watching this today at the BFI, as I went to see it with Beef as well, it felt brand new and fresh at the same time. As everybody else said, it's a cracking good story, and as Beef alluded to, it has a lot of Time Lord lore in it, and it's an interesting story, laugh in it. A few jokes here and there. I like how they use Cambridge as its main focal point. There's a lot of good scenery there to be had, and I think this is one of the best animations they put out so far, as opposed to all the others that we've had in the past. So this one is a really good one, and if anybody hasn't seen it, go and see it because it really is good. Yeah.
All righty. Okay, William.
Hey, how you doing, everybody? Yeah, this is a love story that we has been done in many different ways like that. So it's good to see that's finally completed. And like everybody said, the anime is great. But a funny question I ask is, those who was there when the strike occurred, why wasn't it finished when the strike ended? Considering a lot of stuff was already filmed. That's a good. Go ahead.
Well, there was a change in production teams. Graham Williams and Douglas Adams were on the way out. J&T was coming in, and I think he tried to salvage it for a Christmas special or something as a one-off, but there was no budget for it, and it definitely would not have fit into their vision of the following season. If you tried to watch this in the middle of Series 18, it wouldn't have worked. It's a whole different style of Doctor Who, I would say.
That's unusual. The cast who was in the episode stood out real great. And what's funny is that we were talking about this yesterday. One character almost stood out as a companion because he was with the Dr. more in this story than Romana 2 was. So that's unusual. It was unusual now that since we have Big Finish that does a lot of stories in between stories, this one right here needs to have a follow-up because considering the villain in this story, we don't know what happened to him. Because he is stuck in his ship and can't get out. And we don't know what happened with this young lady that Claire that became very intelligent. Did she maintain it, or did Coronatus take it back? Or that's a good little follow-up that I would like to see done in Big Finish like that. Could be a short trip or just a one-off with another Fourth Doctor adventure. But this like I said, this is a completed story finally, and the animated was great. So hopefully now, like Beef said, everybody was saying the animation has improved. We could finally have some of the lost episodes finished up that we only have 1 or 2 episodes on film, so we can finally finish those off once and for all.
All righty. Okay, let's move up to AJ.
Yep. Yeah, hi there. I watched this version. I watched the previous version with Tom Baker narrating the bits that were missing. I've listened to the audiobook version and I've listened to the Big Finish version. This so far is the best version there is. It's the most complete and rounded story. Just beautiful. The animation is brilliant. And everyone just stood up perfect. Chronotis, young Chris Parsons, and even Claire. The one really annoying one was Skagra. I think he dressed like an intergalactic handbag lady sort of thing. So other than that, yeah, it was a brilliant story. I'll get more into my little bits and pieces I like more later on though.
Alrighty. Okay, Doctor Who commentator.
Okay. Well, yeah, like with Beef and Philip, all three of us went to see it at the BFI, and oh my god, this was just absolutely the best version of Shada so far. But of course, frankly, the definitive version, because this is now the complete version. This is what was supposed to be completed in the first place, and they have completed it well. I was even amazed by the animation in the sense that I could look at it and I don't know how you could tell. Obviously, you could tell it's animation, but somehow it blended so well with the live action. You didn't really notice. I don't know how to explain it. It's really hard to explain, but that's just how good the animation was. It really did feel so part of the live action, but it worked so well. The only real criticism I can have of this is that they made it into a full movie as opposed to a six part adventure. And all I'm thinking is they were billing this whole thing as this is the complete Shada. This is how Shada would have been had it come out. And I'm like, well, if you would have made it into 6 episodes. And it's because of that. There's one other thing that they keep saying that Shada is finally out. It's finally been broadcast. I'm thinking, well, no, you've not broadcast it, have you? You've just released it on DVD. You've released it for available for download. I think that Shada now more than ever deserves a proper broadcast, maybe on BBC 4 or something like that. Separate into 6 episodes, have it on BBC 4 once a week, and then you can officially say, yeah, Shada has been broadcast just like it was supposed to. And to answer a bit of what William said, I was looking through here. Yeah, it says although director Pennant Roberts and new producer John Nathan Turner tried for some time to organise further studio time so the story could be completed for a later transmission, it was officially abandoned by the BBC in June 1980. So that's all I have to say.
Okay, yeah, because this was literally the end of an era, if I remember right. Because I think what it was is when the next episode aired, wasn't this when they went into like heck, what was that next one? The Leisure Hive, wasn't it? Well, that was the next season, and it was literally a whole change around. Because when I watched this, originally when it aired, I'm like, they went to a whole new opening sequence. They went to a whole new like team and all that on the graphics and all that. I'm like, what the hell's going on? Wait, where'd the diamond logo go? What the hell? But,
and the new costume as well.
Yeah, and they have that damn, oh god, I never liked the red costume myself, but sure, it was great for Tom Baker, but it just didn't seem to match the panache of the one he wore up to that point. Sure, it does well as a costume, but it just didn't, I'd still rather see him in the boots and the brown coat and all that stuff. Also, if you're watching Shada and you see that one animation sequence and you see this peculiar blue car,
yeah,
a careful note of the license plate. I wonder what that's for. Okay. Yeah, I guess one of the graphic designers threw that out and said it was an Easter egg they had popped in there. But I was really amazed by, the model work, the fact they went ahead and redid all that. They cleaned up, even the video is cleaned up really, really well. And it's almost like I'm sitting there watching this and I'm like, wow, this is damn near Blu-ray quality. And I thought they really couldn't do that with old video because of, the way it's recorded and all that. But I really, really enjoyed watching it now complete because I remember, the first time any of us got exposed to Shada in any little bit was when they took the little bits out and they stuck it into the 5 Doctors. And then what happened is later on, not too long after that, I picked up the Doctor Who, program guide. And I'm sitting there going through the list of episodes and it gets all the way down. I'm like, what the hell's Shada? I've never seen it. Did I miss one? Did they not air it here? Because they've done that before with Pertwee. If something was missing, they didn't air it. Like, I didn't see Mind of Evil till like 2 years ago because they never aired it here in the U.S. And I'm like, okay, maybe it's something they didn't air. And I kept looking up, and finally it was a few years later, my brother had picked up the VHS one where it was Tom Baker, of course, narrating in the missing bits while he's standing there in like the museum. But, while Tom did a good job narrating, it just, while you're picturing the story going on as he tells it, Sure, that was good, but this was, 100 times better seeing it actually there in front of you now, complete with all the little bits they threw in, just to make it fit. It just spectacular work these guys did. They really did a great job. Okay, so floor is open. All right, Doctor Who Commentator's got his hand up. You go ahead first.
Yeah, just wanted to say, does this officially, because with my other DVD of Shada, I mean, my DVDs are all organized from the day they aired and everything like that, and I never bothered to put Shada in there since it was an unfinished one, and I assumed it's essentially non-canon one. So is this now officially, we can finally say this is proper canon, and it should probably be put right between Leisure Hive and the Haunted Nymon?
There should be no question.
Yeah. Okay, Texas Tim, you had your hand up.
I was going to say, I remember, I know exactly what you're talking about. I remember seeing this video in the Borders. Remember the Borders stores back in the 90s, and I saw this on the shelf. And I thought, really? I had no idea that they had done this video version of it. And so I remember how cool it was to actually finally see some of this lost, missing story for the first time. But then how disappointing it was overall, because it just didn't really work. I mean, you have, as cool as Tom Baker is, you have him standing in a room narrating the missing bits. It just didn't really work as a visual experience. So, I mean, that's why, it took a long time, but here they finally got it complete with this animation. It makes all the difference. It's a really good story.
Okay, Philip?
Forgive me, I don't know whether before DWC can confirm this for me, but during the panel of Shada today, did they not say that most of the vocals was redone for the whole of Shada? What's that guy's name? The one with the blonde hair. He said that all of the vocals were redone for that.
Everything that wasn't recorded stock footage that they had was completely re-recorded audio wise.
Yeah. So that's just my part to interject in the whole thing, just for a little fact file.
Okay, Beef, you had your hand up.
Yeah, you were saying about the model work and how crisp it is. That was something that I found out today that I found very interesting, is that the original prop master who did it took really detailed pictures of all the props and all the model work that they had. Now, some of the original stuff stayed in there, but it was so detailed that the information that it took, that he was able to disseminate what model kits it came from. So he was able to reproduce, in essence, a virtually screen accurate model of the space station. And the thing was, they filmed it as they'd used the same techniques as they did then. They did it on film, so that's why you have that great quality to it, and you can then upscale it as well. And basically, they did it lo-fi to a certain degree, whereas now it would be computer graphics. It's done with fishing wire on the end of a rod, and it's all filmed upside down, so it's harder to see the wires. It is absolutely magnificent, the amount of detail and love that has gone into this.
But is that not because they want to keep it as part of its time? You know what I mean?
They want it to look completely authentic. And one of the things that they got, it's like about 6 hours. I mean, the good thing is that they were able to do, excuse me, all the location stuff. That was all done. So pretty much all your exteriors we already had, before, in the previous version, Tom Baker showed up in a really ugly pinstripe suit from the 1980s with huge lapels. But now, all that stuff there, you can take that, and that still stays there. And then when you get to the internal shots, then you're just using, then you're switching to the animation. So that's why I think, to a certain degree, it works really well to have that sort of changeover. Apart from, obviously, I think some of the set stuff that they did in at Chronotis's office. But I've got to say, it is that what is really good, I think, I've noticed this through time, is that when you do see something in a big group setting like this, and if everyone's getting the jokes at the same time, and then it's a product of how well something is written. And it was a case of, certainly with this, that I don't think happened with the Deep Breath premiere when I saw that, is that everyone got the jokes, because you have a magnificent bit where after Skagra's rubbed his balls all over the great and scientific good of the universe, and then you find them later on, and they're sort of like empty husks and everything like that, and he's going around and he's sort of patting them on the head, slapping them on the cheek, and virtually sort of more power to you by the end of it. There's such brilliant humour in this that I think only he could carry off, and is so indicative of Douglas Adams. This is magic, and I don't know whether maybe we'll get onto it towards the end. That the last scene as well is a little bit something special.
Okay, William.
That Beef brought it up, since they was able to film that last scene new that was added to the DVD. Any reason why John Leeson wasn't used as K9 for this as an upgraded? Nobody mentioned that in the BFI?
Because John Leeson wasn't the one playing K9 at that time on the episode.
Yeah, that's basically it. But keep it in line with what it originally was. So. And
this one probably Phil will know the answer to more. Has Shada ever been brought up in other episodes or Big Finish or books? Considering they say it's a place that has a lot of people prisoned there for crimes.
No, to my knowledge, no. It's not been brought up anywhere else in other Doctor Who material.
That's unusual because you saw how big it is and how many people are there. Are you sure that all of them really criminals?
You know what? That kind of irked me a little bit. That part of Shada when Skagra releases the prisoners, they're meant to represent like the Daleks, Saigon, and those familiar monsters that we know of Doctor Who. But in this one that we've got here, they got generic kind of like criminals that we don't really know who they are. They're just like generic
people you'd see at the pub, right?
Yeah, basically.
I think the easy for that was if you would have had a drawing of a Dalek, of course, the Terry Nation Estate would have had their hand out, and that's probably would have been with the other creatures that we're familiar with.
Exactly. I think that's why they didn't do that, because then you have to pay the Terry Nation Estate.
Okay, I get
you
that.
See,
well,
if the image of a Dalek shows up, boom, there goes a chunk of your budget.
The novelization that came out about 6 years ago actually was very long. It wasn't your average target novel of 150 pages, and it gave a lot of depth and description about who these characters were that were in the prison. I think that's probably where they got this from. You're right, probably intended in the original series was probably to have a Dalek or whatever, but for their purposes today, you're right, they would have had to pay some rights or something to get a Dalek in there or something.
Okay, Dr. Commentary, you had your hand up for a bit now.
Yeah, just something I was remembering, because again, Phil was bringing up the guy with blonde hair. I can't remember his name, and neither of us can remember. But in terms of creating the animation, when it comes to the Lost episodes, the one thing I always worry about sort of is, well, how accurate are they actually getting these to how was it in the future? Because I'm thinking if we ever discover any of those missing episodes again that they've already animated, all we're going to do is look back on those and think, boy, they got that wrong in the animation. And I thought that when it came to something like this, I thought, well, they don't actually have that problem because there's nothing, because it was never filmed anyway, so they got a bit more free reign. That's what I thought. It turns out that they did in fact uncover 7 hours of some sort of studio footage in some way, which they could actually work from. And I was thinking, wow, you had 7 hours of this, and more to the point, why was none of this used for the original show? But obviously they had their reasons.
Okay, Philip, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I was going to say that I did like the change of how they use because in the original DVD VHS release and later DVD release, they had Professor Chronotis' TARDIS as a full blocked room spinning in the vortex, whereas here in the new upscale version, it's just a single door in space, and I kind of like that. And the fact when they try to connect the door to the police box TARDIS when the Doctor's crawling across to get to the TARDIS, I like that imagery there that they put in the new thing. That was cool as well.
Okay, Texas Tim.
Well, I'm wondering if they weren't tempted to reanimate or redo some parts that actually didn't come off that good, like the last scene with Skagra, because he's very over the top. With his little tantrum he throws when the computer locks him in that room, it's really bad. You have to wonder if they didn't think, well, we got the actor and we can do the animation. Why don't we just redo that bit? I mean, but that's I don't know. I guess that used what they had.
Okay, AJ.
I was just going to say about Skagra. I like the character because he was so over the top. Like, he was almost mustache twirling evil. Like, he doesn't even really give a reason why he wants to have all the minds in the universe merged into him. He just wants to do it because reasons. So I like that mysterious part. I wish there was either a prequel or something later on that would say why he wanted to do it.
I thought he wanted to be the universe.
Yeah, but he
that's what
he never really elaborated on it, though, did he?
He was trying to think he could bring order to the universe, is what I think of what it was. And, there's all the, you got those villains who seem to think, okay, I'll do it this way. It must be the right way. It's like, okay, Graham, you had your hand up.
Just touching on Skagra, I will bring order to the universe and look fabulous while doing it. I agree with AJ. The dress sense was kind of
space pimp.
Disco.
Yeah,
disco.
Disco. I mean, in that handbag he was chilling about in Cambridge with early doors in the story. You're like, jeez, man, it's just something that a Mary Poppins would do. You could put anything in there, man. But no, that was different. On Philip's point with regards to the prison, with regards to all the prisoners, I've just got to ask, which one was the 11th?
Ooh. Very good, very good.
Okay, Dr. Commentator.
Yeah, actually, this is kind of a rather important point, and it was brought up in one of the documentaries in the original DVD release, and it's on this one as well. It's all well and good to look at Shada as this great episode, and of course, everyone in Doctor Who community, they all love it because it is it's the only unfinished episode, and that's why it's so revered. But there is one thing. Again, having actually seen this now, I will say this. Had it actually been finished and broadcast at its time, I've no doubt it would have been seen as a good episode. I don't think, however, it would have been looked at as nearly as great an episode or revered as an episode as it is right now. Honestly, mate, I mean, I'm not saying it. I did not say it's not bad. It's not a bad episode, but I don't think it would have been quite as revered as it is now. It's come on, it's mostly revered because it was unfinished.
Well, that's kind of obvious, isn't it? Though, I mean, to be fair, that you're right. That's one of the reasons it's revered, because it wasn't a missing episode, a complete one, and it took them, I mean, how many years just to get the novelization rights finally, so they could put the book out? I mean, or they, of course, Big Finish took a turn at it, and they used the Eighth Doctor because Tom Baker wasn't interested, and that's all fine and well. But I mean, I don't think that takes anything away from the actual quality of the story or the episode itself, because it still is a good story. It's probably the best one of that year, Series 17. I would say it's at least the most entertaining. It's a 6-part episode, which was the last one they were ever going to have at that point, because they stopped doing them after that. And
I didn't say it was taking away any quality. I just think it would have been.
No, you're right. The modern attitude towards it is going to be that, it's that's why it may be overrated in some people's minds. But to be fair, it's good to finally have the whole story, isn't it?
I'm not saying it isn't.
I think from a different point of view, though, it does something that you didn't always get as well. Is that it was quite ahead of its time if you think of it from a technology point of view and everything like that. Okay, you've got the idea of the invisible ship. Yeah, that's great if you want to save money on your budget and everything like that. But you have the idea of the sentient ship that you're trying to basically trick out of it via a form of logic. The Doctor, does have his brain sort of, they do try to extract his brain, but then he's got to science his way to a certain degree out of this. So he's got to use cunning and guile for it, as opposed to someone just tripping up over their own mistakes. So I think it does have certain relevance in that. Some people say this one's quite heavy on techno babble, but I really don't think it is. I think if you look at it, it's more cunning and guile than it is. Than just sort of like an action-reaction type thing. The Doctor has to work his way out of this, because it's no way an easy fix for him.
Well, okay. Also,
Go ahead.
Sorry. Of the time, Tim, as well, These were the heady days of Douglas Adams' version of science fiction, which is pre-computers, pre all the technology we have today, and that's why he always has all these crazy ideas. I mean, this is the guy that was the script editor of that series, and this is his story. This is his second one, actually. I think he wrote most of City of Death as well. But the point I'm making is that this was his time. This was the time of the Hitchhiker's Guide as well. Everything was all happening for him at the same time. And what you're saying is exactly that. This is that kind of sci-fi you were having at the time, which may be a bit dated these days. But I mean, it's definitely a product of its time, and it's very good.
But it was ahead of the curve at that point, I was saying
Yes.
as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
Philip.
I was just going to point out there was one little small jarring point in the story that when I watched it today is the fact that there's a point where the Doctor and Skagger are having that mind battle with the prisoners and the balls and things, and obviously what's his name, Chronotis, gets attacked by the ball again, but we don't see him again after that until the end segment with the policeman in his study, and I thought that was a bit of a dropout kind of thing for me.
Well, the problem is they didn't have the actor. That's the one actor they didn't have for this. So I mean, if he had any lines in between, that they obviously didn't bother.
Yeah.
Okay, Graham.
Just touching on what Philip alluded to there with the mind battle. There was points where the camera was zooming between the two of them. I wasn't sure if it was a mind battle or if it was who could look the more constipated. I'm just saying.
Okay, AJ.
Yeah, I like the fact in the story that the book was basically nonsensical and time ran backwards on it, but once you had it inside of a TARDIS and you flipped through the book, it would connect to the TARDIS and take you to Shada. Like, there was no instructions for the book. There was nothing to do with that. It was just pure guesswork that they figured out that that's how it would work. And also, like, the parallel between Chronotis and the Doctor himself, both of them stealing a TARDIS that's been junked, and both of them running away from Gallifrey as well. So that, in a way, they're both imagery and mimicking each other as well. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah, what they were alluding to was the fact that Sarajevan's exploits were exaggerated. They made him out to be this big bad guy when chances are he was probably just another renegade. And I think that's what they were alluding to. Plus, the one thing I wanted to bring up, since Beef mentioned it, was the invisible ship. Where they're going in and out of it and all that. Later on, after I saw this and all that, when they with the Tom Baker VHS copy, I was like, wait a minute, I've seen this somewhere before. And I was like, oh crap, Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home. Like, yeah, because they had the bits where they were going in and out of the cloaked ship in the park and all that. I'm wondering, you think maybe that the writer, had seen the footage from Shada maybe and, got inspired for that? You never know. Okay, Texas Tim.
Well, to follow on what AJ was just saying, I think that was the point of that added scene at the end with the real Tom Baker, is that that was a comparison to Chronotis himself. I mean, because that's the kind of thing the Doctor would do in his waning years, is retire at some university somewhere. Well, it's what you kind of got last series, but I mean, in a room, and just chilling out, and not worried with the comings and goings of evil anymore, just chilling out in his library and reading his books. I mean, that's what Chronotis is, and that's basically much older version of the Doctor. I think that's the point they were trying to make.
Yeah, the curator just happens to wind up in a museum that has round things on the walls. Okay, Dr. Commentator, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say about that last scene. I mean, it is a very nice scene, a good nod to having Tom Baker there. I mean, everyone loves to see Tom Baker, but there is a lot of purity in me thing with the idea that this was meant to be this was meant to be Shada. This was meant to be as Shada was. Did it really make? Unless that is exactly what all the lines in there was what he said at the time, did it really make sense to have him in there, really?
Well, they kind of did
I
it.
think it was definitely tacked on.
Yeah, just a bonus.
Tribute.
Yeah. Come on, he's still around. They had the console they had recreated for the Doctor experience. Well, why not? Sure, you're going to have Lala Ward record her dialogue somewhere way up. For certain reasons.
Yeah, that was odd.
Okay.
No, but it echoes an earlier part in the series, that particular series. Remember when she's trying on different bodies, she's in the other room and they're calling back and forth. That's what that recalls.
Yeah, they did that a lot anyway, so it could fit anyway. Okay, Graham.
Just on that tactile scene, obviously it was a nice wee bonus to chuck on the end of it. For those of you who got the DVD or bought the download version, there's obviously a couple of outtakes which are quite funny as well. So I encourage everybody to go check them out as well. Tom Baker at his ample best, comedic wise as ever. Getting back to Chronotis, my God, that old fella have to dish out his cups of tea, didn't they?
Yes, he did.
I was beginning to wonder if the episode was sponsored by some type of tea brand. Yeah.
This episode brought to you by Lipton.
Yeah, 2 lumps, no sugar.
I will give props to Dennis Carey for his role as Professor Chronotis. He was very good in that. I kind of liked him. He's my favorite character.
Okay, William, how'd you end up? Go ahead.
Noticing when the doctor met Chronotis that he mentioned that he'd been there in different years, like 55 in certain years, and then in one of them he had a different face. So that'll be nice to see some stories made out of those. And as for the Tom Baker added scene, it stands out because it was better to see that than see an animated finale for the episode. So it really stood out pretty good that Tom Baker was nice enough to have that film like that. So you got to give him props for that because, since he's a senior man, it was good for him to have the strength to stand up and do that because we don't know how much time we're gonna have him, man. So let's do whatever we can. So that really stood out pretty good.
Okay, Beef.
I was going to say as well, with regards to the animation and props and everything like that, is that where the bits where you've got the actual formation of the Krogs and everything like that. So you see the sort of the nervous system then building up to the full monster as well. They have really put time into it. But what you think, on screen, doesn't look that scary a thing because it just looks like a sort of mesh of foam and everything like that. That sort of gives an extra added aspect to it. And I know we're saying that this is animated as well, but a certain amount of this was animated from green screen work. So they got someone to do, Tim Bentnick, who was one of the monks in season 10, he was body doubling for Tom Baker, but you had Daniel Hill come in and sort of do the part of Chris Parsons. And the thing is, he was a really strong character as well. He was as much a sort of he goes through a journey. That's the thing with Doctor Who episodes. Everyone goes through their own personal discovery. Something happens that makes them change their worldview, their perspective. They learn something, then it goes on to something else, and it all comes onto that. It's that everyone has a full circle in this story. Parsons has it. Claire has it to a certain degree, I think, because instead of being sort of like a little assistant, she sort of becomes a lot more clever at the end of this. Chronotis has a sort of full circle. So that's one good thing about this, that they've done it in a way that now everyone sort of gets their full meat out of it, apart from Skagra, who's has his balls lost completely by the end of it.
Not to mention Claire, who suddenly had 1 minute has a bun and the next she's got a full-on hair.
Yeah, the hairstyle does change a bit. Yeah.
Okay, Texas Tim.
Well, I thought it was interesting that after this, wasn't shown or was canceled, that Douglas Adams used some of the events of the story and the characters in his books for Dirk Gently that came out throughout later in the decade, which Professor Chronotis is a big part of that first book, Holistic Detective Agency. And so it's pretty interesting. He also steals a couple of things he had already done in City of Death for that story. But it's artistic license. I guess you can do that.
Okay, Graham.
Yeah, just touching on Beef alluded to Victoria Burgoyne's Claire. Did she ever get put back to normal after getting brains in this thing? Or was that completely forgot?
I asked that in the beginning of my statement about her.
Because
if it wasn't, then as I said, that'd be good for her to come into Big Finish to find out what happened.
You know what? Considering at the end of it, everybody's fine at the end of the Avenger, I would presume that Professor Chronotis rearranged her brain back to how it was.
I think they addressed it in the novel. I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure they did.
Right.
I think it wears off. It wears off.
Okay, it might have been temporary. And with regards to good old K9, other than the fact that we had some new footage shot, obviously, when he's sapping the crawl things, If I hear the phrase "does not compute" one more time, I'm going to shoot myself.
Insufficient data.
Yeah, that's the one. Insufficient data. Yeah.
That was K9 during his, shall we say,
Trip
alternative.
to Frisco. Yeah.
Yeah, K9's alternative lifestyle era. Yeah. Insufficient data.
To be fair, since they didn't have access to the actor in all those other new scenes they filmed, they didn't have him speak at all. They didn't.
No.
You know what I mean? He was quiet quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, AJ, you got your hand up.
First on about K9, when the crowd picked him up and threw him, obviously they thought his voice was annoying too. Towards the end of the story, where the cop comes into Chronotis's office and he's like, "Right, what's all this about? What's the police box and all that?" And the doctor buggers off, and then they get arrested because basically the TARDIS disappeared in front of the cop. He had no idea what was going on. I thought that was just brilliant. That bit of comedy there.
Also, this was around that time K9 was usually not always working for some reason or another because, as Douglas Adams put Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, nobody likes a smartass. So, he was either damaged in pieces or, of course, in the next story that, he goes running into the ocean to go after the ball and winds up shorted out. They started doing that a lot with K9 because that like a know-it-all.
That was because the new production team hated him and they didn't want him. So remember, he got throughout Series 18, he gets kicked around, he gets his head taken off in one story. It's ridiculous how much they hated that character or that companion.
Yeah, the prop was a pain. Okay, go ahead, Graham.
No, I was just going to say that the bloody character's name escaped me. The wee fellow who was always getting direction on the campus.
Wilkins.
Wilkins, that's the fella. That poor guy went through some turmoil in this story, man.
I just feel sorry for
on him, and
I just feel sorry for the poor bloke who was fishing, to be honest with you, because he served no purpose at all. And why on earth did
red shirt? Yeah.
Why did they just drain his brain? Because there was no point in him actually being attacked. It was sort of like that's a real bit of filler there, sadly. There you go. Fishing is a dangerous sport, obviously.
Yeah.
Now, what's going to happen now? Is Skagger going to go out there and know how to catch a freaking kipper out of the river? What in the hell? Oh, okay, William, you got your hand up. Go ahead.
For those who went to the BFI, did the animated crew mention if they're doing another project since this one was done?
Go on, Dave.
Yeah, now that was kind of interesting. Put simply, no, they haven't announced any new project. They don't really know what they're gonna do next. They haven't really got any idea of what they're gonna do next.
They would neither confirm or deny.
No, but I was so tempted to heckle Dalek Master Plan.
No, all they're gonna do is they're gonna have the wheel of missing episodes started spinning and throw darts.
There you
go. So it's nice to have this thing back together. Somewhat complete. It's nice to be able to sit down and watch it, with no breaks to Tom or, anything like that. Sure, the Ian Levine version wasn't too bad for its time. And sure, he blew a brain gasket when he found out they were doing this. But, that's just Ian. But, okay, anyone else?
One other thing they did do at the end of this, I don't know whether, I don't think I saw it on the digital version, but certainly there's something that they did when they screened it today, is that they actually put a dedication at the end of it. They because I think as well the music played such a large part in sort of making this a rounded thing, they dedicated it to Dudley Simpson as well.
Good.
Because Mark Ayres, who did the music, worked with Dudley as well. So it's quite apt and quite fitting, as much as it's a tribute to what you had with Douglas Adams, because there was a brief section with an interview with Tom Baker where he says he was so universally liked within the production team as well that they wanted to do it because they feel, as much as it's sort of closing that chapter and giving you a complete type thing as well, it's a tribute to this guy. It's nice that they did that same sort of tribute to a guy who added so much to it with the musical side of it. And sorry for my goddamn clock.
Yes, it's Christmas time. Can you tell? They did approach Dudley, to work on this, but unfortunately, he said, "Look, I can't do it anymore," and all that. And then a short time later, he passed away. So, obviously, yeah, he was in poor health at the time and all that, and he couldn't do it.
But Mark Ayers is your go-to guy, though, isn't he? He's very well-versed in the music of Doctor Who. And so, I mean, he did do an accomplished job. Even the little canine bits were reminiscent of those days.
Yeah, very good job on the soundtrack. You definitely got to mention that. Okay, anything else, guys? That about it? Okay, we'll wrap this sucker up. We'll go ahead and we'll just give it a rating, and then we'll pass on to our next subject next week. All right. Let's start at the top. AJ, out of 10, what do you rate this new animated Shada?
I'll give it a 9 out of 10. It was, I think, perfect for filling in the gaps that we were missing.
Okay. Dr. Commentator.
Yeah, a perfect 10 for me would actually be the whole thing in live action, but since that can't be done, I'll give it a 9.
All right, William.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. I recommend Big Finish do some follow-ups to this story, and I look forward to the animated crew to do it for the next project they're gonna do, which they can't mention yet.
Okay, Philip.
Even though we've had many versions of this come out over the last couple of years, this one is the best one I've come across and I've enjoyed the most. So I'm giving this a 9 out of 10 as well. It's really good.
Okay, Graham.
I'm going to echo the sentiments of most in here. 9 out of 10. Sleek, excellent, and it's good to have it full.
Okay, Beef.
I'm going to break from this. Actually, I'm going to say a 10 because the thing is, there's no way you're going to get back what was gone. And for them to do this, it's a labour of love. It's not a case of, well, we just took what was already done and then we stuck bits in the middle of it. No, they didn't. They went back and did the whole thing in essence from scratch. So to give us what they've done, it is a real labour of love. I think not just for the cast, but it's also a case of the love and respect for the source material from every aspect of production, the animators, the SFX guys, the producer and the director. Charles Norton, I've got to say, really, really pulled it out of the bag on this one, to be honest with you. And we've said this before, we hope it leads on to bigger and better things where there are gaps. But you're not going to get any better than this now, and it's nice to sort of draw a line through that and said, we've got that one now, thank you very much.
Okay, Texas Tim.
Yes, I'm only going to ditto what he said exactly.
I'm going to say the same thing because it was so nice. Sure, it was nice with Tom narrating, but it's not the same. It just isn't, it kind of cut the flow and all that when they had to go back to him standing in the museum and all that. And now it's just one big, long, flowing story, all there, all connected. Sure, it was a little bit weird when 1 second they're animated, then they pop in through that door and they're back into reality. I was like, wow, is this like Cool World or something? But but at the same time, it's well-told story. It was a well-written story. It was a story that had to be abandoned due to unfortunate circumstances, and now we have it back here complete in 2017. And hopefully this will give inspiration to those guys, out there, seeing how well this is received, to say, look, we've got a whole shit ton of missing Doctor Who history. Let's get back there and work on that as well. That's what I'm hoping comes out of this, along, with the fact we got a great story back. Okay, so next week we're going to be talking about The Punisher, Series 1. It's looking to be a great series so far. I'm on like episode 5, and slowly getting my way through it. Unlike somebody who likes to, shall we say, binge watch.
Can't watch his weight anyway.
I'm pointing down at the square. Okay, so. Until next week, everybody take care. Ta-ta. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And also, we're, just 23 days to Christmas. So it's going to be a happy and sad time. So